Hey guys, James with Esprit Tech Jeti USA. Wanted to go over something we get a lot of questions on here at the shop, and that is how to set up a helicopter, how to do a basic Jeti helicopter setup. There's a lot of things that are missed, a couple of steps that are automatically taken care of for you, and those for some reason are things that people are missing, so we want to go through and do a quick setup. Obviously we're going to go into our menu, so we're going to click the menu button on the radio. We're going to select menu by pressing the function button or 3D button, and we're going to go into new model. So scroll down into new model, press the 3D button. First thing that we're going to do is name it, and we're going to go ahead and name this Diablo. We're using the new Diablo Edition DS-14 in this video. I went ahead and used that because it has the extra flight modes and things that I like to use. Once you've named it, you press OK. We're going to go down and we're going to select heli and hit the 3D button. Press function button 5, which corresponds with the arrow to the right. That's going to go to the next screen. We're going to build a typical 3D helicopter fly-barless head. So first thing we're going to do is set the swash type to mechanical. Now if you were building a fly-barred helicopter and you needed either a 3 swash head or 4 swash head, you have that set up in here, as well as a full swash mixing menu. Most of today's current stuff, you're not going to use that. You're going to skip over it and go straight to mechanical. So we're going to select that. Click the 3D button again. You're going to move down. If you're using an external governor, you would select governor and turn that on so you had a tuning menu for governor. We're not going to do that in this particular model. It automatically generates a single gyro input setting. If you're using a fly-barless system that uses different inputs for the head and for the tail, you would want to go ahead and activate gyro 2 so that you have them separated. We're flying typically the Spirit fly-barless system here at the shop, so we're not using gyro 2, we're only using gyro 1 because the head gyro is maintained in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and skip down, show you have gyro 2 available, gyro 3 available, and of course the swash type on that page. Once you've finished with that and the right arrow appears, you can go ahead and click the right arrow, function button 5, and you'll check your function assignments and make sure here that all of the controls that you want to use are assigned the way that you want to use them. So throttle and pitch are on P4, yaw or tail is on P3, 1 and 2 of course are your elevator and your roll. So once you have those correct, you can go ahead and skip down below that, and you'll notice this is where your gyro sense shows up. If you're using a fly-barless controller with banks, you're going to want to set up an additional function that doesn't appear. To do that is very simple. We're going to go ahead and click the add button. We're going to go ahead and name it banks so that we know why we added it in here. Once you get that added, you click OK, and we want to go ahead and assign that to a switch. I typically use the SF switch for my banks and my momentary button for my rescue, so I'm going to go ahead and assign that to SF by clicking on the open control box there. Brings up select input control, and I'm just going to move my SF switch into a bottom position there. Now that I've done that, I have a 3-position switch assigned to my banks, and gyro sense is assigned to SF. What we want to do is go ahead and change that. So we're going to escape that line, move up into gyro sense, go over and select our SF or our control, clear the input, and we're going to go ahead and press the momentary button on this radio, and that's going to be our gyro control. You'll set this up a little different depending on the type of fly-barless controller you're using. Each of those will vary, but this is a basic setup and of course designed around Jeti radio and the Spirit fly-barless controller. Go ahead and move to the next page. Once we've done that, this is our throttle or our servo assignment. You'll notice that each of these correspond to our functions in the previous page. We want to make sure here that our servo assignments match the input requirements of the fly-barless controller. So if it's looking for throttle on channel 1, you want to make sure that throttle is assigned on servo assignment on channel 1. Don't forget that this also corresponds with either your UDI, PPM, or EX bus stream out to the device if you're doing linear output. So here's where you want to make sure that it matches the fly-barless controller. We're going to go ahead and go through. This is the typical setup for Jeti, how it pre-sorts these. Any of these can be changed by clicking on the function that you want to change, and the pin position that you want to change, and just scrolling through. We're going to go ahead and leave it in the presets for now and move past this page. Once we do that, you'll see create and activate model. We're going to say yes because we want to build this new model. It automatically defaults to the servo setup page, whereas you know if you're flying a flybarless machine, most of what you do will not be done in the servo setup. It'll actually be done in the flybarless controller. So we're going to go ahead and hit escape. Takes us back into our menu and directly into our heli tuning menu. Flight modes is the big reason I wanted to get into this video. So we're going to go ahead and click the 3D button on flight modes, and you'll notice that if you do it this way, it automatically comes up and asks you if you want to create the default flight modes, and that would be auto rotation, idle 1, idle 2, and idle 3. It's really important to go ahead and say yes at this point. It does a lot of the work for you. You're not going to be trying to go back and set these up, put them in the correct order later and fight with them. So I'm going to go ahead and answer yes. All you need to do then is go in and actually assign all of your switches. So for example, auto rotation in the Jeti speak is hold, so we're going to go ahead and assign our hold switch. And then all of our other positions we can assign wherever you typically do. SA is the position we find most people assign these to, and you do so just like you would assigning any other switch by going into the switch location, selecting the 3D button, and moving the switch that you want to see moved. That isn't the position I want our idle 3 to be, so I'm going to go ahead and hit clear, move it one more time into the position I want it in, click OK. Now you just simply click escape, go to the next line, scroll over to switch, and do the same thing. You're going to do this all the way through your flight modes so that you can assign each of your flight modes to the correct switch. Once you've done that, you'll be able to go in and actually assign all of your throttle curves, pitch curves, everything that you want to assign that are flight mode specific. Now that you've created the flight modes, you can go in and do that. That's kind of a critical step some of the guys are missing, and it makes doing their setups a little bit messy. So we wanted to make sure that you saw that. The other thing that we can do is we can order these any way we want to. I strongly urge you not to move auto rotation out of position 1. The reason it's in position 1 is we built our system on hierarchy. If you move auto rotation out of position 1, then one of the other idles, and therefore one of the other throttle positions, would take over or be superior to throttle hold. And you want throttle hold to be the be-all, end-all, no matter what else is going on. If you hit hold, it turns that machine off, and that's done by leaving that in position 1. But I am going to go ahead and reorder this so that my idle 1 is in position 2, idle 2 is in position 3, and idle 3 is in position 4. And you can do that using the arrows found under the screen, function buttons 1 and 2, when you're in the flight mode screen. Whichever line is highlighted is the line you're going to be moving. I'm going to go ahead and move out of flight modes now that we have them created and jump into our throttle curve. You'll notice that right now at the top of the screen you'll see auto rotation. So that shows you that we're in hold right now. And the curve for hold, if you'll notice, is a flat curve at 0%. So throttle is already down at 0% or negative 100% value for our auto rotation. That's automatically done by the system. Once you flip out of hold, you'll notice that the curve changes. Big thing here is you have the ability to adjust those curves. So to do that, we want to go ahead and go into the curve type and adjust that to a constant curve. And in this example, we're going to go ahead and leave this one at 50% for our idle 1. Our idle 2 curve, we also want to change to constant. By selecting, let me go back a little bit. By selecting the actual name of the curve type, you can adjust that. Once you've selected the type of curve that you want, you can go in and actually highlight the curve itself, click on the 3D button, and that gives you the ability to move that curve. So we're going to take that up to 75, just as an example. Once you have that in the right position, click it again, and we'll go ahead and move to our throttle 3 or our idle up 3. I'm going to go back and move that curve again. We're going to choose our curve, and we're going to go ahead and take that percentage all the way up. This will give you an idea on how how you can change these things. You also have a lot of different curve types. So if you're somebody that flies a normal curve in your idle 1 position, or you fly a normal idle position, you can do that, and you can actually go in, and rather than, I'll go ahead and move to my idle 1 position, rather than setting constant, you can set that at, say, a 9-point curve. Go into the system itself, into the curve, and you can actually adjust all of the points of that curve to where you can get that nice gradual curve up to a fixed point, and then you could run that all the way out, and that gives you that that normal linear control without getting 100% at full pitch, full stick. Most guys are still, it seems like, using a normal. This is a very quick way to set that up. So once you have all of your pitch curves set up, you just click OK, or your throttle curves. Pitch curves, if you use them, you can actually select, it automatically asks you if you want to set them to flight mode independent. So you want different pitch curves in different idle ups or different flight modes. You can select yes, and you can change your pitch curves just like you changed your throttle curves. I'm going to go ahead and click no. We're going to back out of pitch curves. Last one I want to go through is gyro settings. Gyro settings are specific, of course, to the helicopter setup, the way we're using them here. You can set gyro settings to separate or global. Global meaning that the gyro is going to take effect and be at the same setting across all of your flight modes. You can also set that to where that it is separate, so that each flight mode can have an independent gyro control. So if you have your gyro control set on a switch, you'll notice that when you click that switch, that number will change. By selecting position 3's gyro percentage and hitting the 3D button, you can actually raise or lower that percentage, and that of course would correspond if you had in-flight tuning on the gyro or on the gain settings for the helicopter. This is one of the applications you would use to do that. That's your basic helicopter setup. I'm not going to go into too much more of the tuning. If there are any specific questions that you have, just like always, reach out to us at Jeti USA or Esprit Tech. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.